fellow Minecrafters, Gearsaw Studios here. Today I'm going to show off 1.18 Experimental Snapshot 5, the latest in the series of experimental snapshots released by Mojang. However, before I begin, remember, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. So, with that, let's investigate. Here we are on the Minecraft subreddit, which is pretty much where we go to find info, posted by Mr. Henrik Nieberg himself. Experimental Snapshot 5, which has some pretty good changes. Peakier peaks. So the peaks are more jagged and higher, which is a much needed change. Since they were kind of gradual, now they're going to be more spiky. Made mountain areas and peak biomes slightly larger on average, so there's more of them. Raised the average mountain height, fixing an unintentional change where Experimental Snapshot 4 made mountains lower and smoother. But we had to lower the mountain height again to fit peakier peaks, so it evens out. We deliberately avoid having stuff way too high, so that way you can still build stuff on the top. Any peaks that try generating higher will turn into a plateau mercilessly. An unintentional bug. Fossils with diamonds no longer generate above deep slate level, which means the normal fossils are still not very valuable. Moved swamps slightly more inland because the murky waters kept leaking into the oceans, and of course giving swamps personality. Oceans are just going to be better. Also, swamp trees can grow slightly deeper in water, which means the swamp lakes should be less barren. Cave carvers can carve through red sand and calcite, which means those blocks aren't going to hang. Tweak the depths of rivers and steepness of riverbanks, so they're less likely to be crazy. Small lakes features are no longer placed in deserts, savannas, badlands, stuff like that. And reduce the amount of those in other biomes. Small hills and overhangs in code, it's 3D noise and text speak, of course. Generate more often in flat areas, like in Experimental Snapshot 3, which was accidentally removed, which made flat areas too boring. Reduce the amount of shattered terrain and shattered savanna biomes, and more flatter beaches. Water springs can generate in more types of blocks, such as dirt and snow. Also added springs to lush caves. Fixed a random indent in the code. Doesn't matter at all, so I don't know why I'm mentioning it. Best change ever. Added the jungle edge biome back into the game, which is a very good change because it made jungles very nice in the old versions, so jungles are going to be nice and happy in my eyes again. Tweaked mushrooms fields biome so that it matches the shape of the land better. Dripstone caves are less grassy, and removed the height-based spawning change that we made in Snapshot 3. So they're going to have to do more changes later. Now, let's look inside the game for what has been changed. One of the changes mentioned are that mountains are now bigger, as in the peaks. So, as you can see, this is an enormous snow-capped peaks biome, where you can see tons of packed ice, goats, all that. Either way, this is extremely large, and if I move out of F1 mode, you can see that it's getting abruptly cut off into this plateau when it gets too high about here. Which means you're going to have more flat mountains like this, but craggier terrain will be better, which I think is a fair trade-off. Either way, this is an amazing view because the biomes are now bigger. Over here at this rather shattered beach, you can see this is a kind of strange jungle. It doesn't have as many trees as usual. That's because this is actually a jungle edge, which was re-added in this experimental snapshot. A very nice change because it has the beautiful green, but it doesn't have all of the foliage covering it up, which creates a nice blend of just the occasional tree here and there with the beautiful grass. I just think that the jungles are a lot better with this, although they don't generate on all sides now. Although the patch notes said that these rivers would not be as deep, this river is exceptionally deep and is choked off but I gotta give it some credit to being choked off in a not flat area. Either way, it seems like rivers are not going to be as shallow as they were stated to be in the patch notes. However, I'll look at some more off camera. Over here in this partially frozen over river, there's a wide river, but it's not as deep as it was in the last clip, which means that the rivers should be partially balanced. But over here you can see it's pretty deep due to some caves. So I'm not entirely sure how the rivers are going to be, but it seems like it is getting choked off in this rather flat area. Either way, I think rivers might need a little bit more tweaking in order to make good. Over here in this extreme mess of biomes, you can see that there's a swamp, but it ends before going into this rather small ocean, but it's still an ocean due to the kelp. As you can see, it's getting cut off by a forest so that way the murky waters aren't in the ocean. I think this is a pretty nice change without destroying the oceans or the swamps. I think that they're better separated, and this is just a pretty good change overall. Although this is a rather unrelated note, this lava aquifer is looking pretty crazy, especially with this ruined portal in here. As you can see, the ruined portal is completely submerged in lava. Just a little thing I'd like to share about this, but it's not related to anything in the patch notes. Another change to this snapshot was that they made Badlands significantly bigger. From what I can tell, the Badlands are quite a bit larger. As you can see, my render distance is 18 chunks, and I can't see any end of this from this middle, excluding this river. So, Badlands are going to be nice and giant again, as you probably remember from 1.17. But this is actually a very large biome, and you might be able to see more of the eroded Badlands with those strange spikes. But, unfortunately, there's only one spike here. Either way, Badlands are a whole lot bigger now. Over here in this naturally occurring dripstone cave entrance, you can see that there is no dirt now. This is because of a recent change in this snapshot that prevents grass from generating here, which makes it a lot more stony around here. Although this biome is still very stony itself, the dripstone cave could still generate grass, but now it doesn't, which is a nice change because I don't think dripstone caves being all that filled with grass and stuff. Over here in these lush caves, you can see that there's now some springs, which means axolotls should be a little bit easier to come by now. But if I have everything right about spawn generation, it probably won't be the case due to the clay. Either way, it's still a nice feature to have actual springs here in the lush caves. Now, as you can see, these carvers, I still call them ravines, can cut down some red sand, and they can also do that for calcite, which means you'll see some carvers, I'm still calling them ravines from now on, in the Badlands. Also, I accidentally said that the Badlands were bigger. I still think they're rather large. It doesn't seem like their size has been really reduced by much at all. Although the patch notes did say that the peakier peaks have been added, I have not been able to locate any, and the Badlands normal variant has been extremely difficult to find, since I had to create an entire new world that could only generate Badlands in order to find a carver. I still think this update does need some polishing up though. Also, I have not been able to find any fossils in normal desert biomes or swamp biomes, so I'm not going to be able to feature that change. But with those changes out of the way, it's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed this video, remember, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. So, with that, take care, try finding some mountains. Gearsaw out.